Wellington Regiment, the Gloucestershire Regiment, the Worcestershire and Sherwood Foresters Regiment, the Pegasus Band of the Parachute Regiment, and the North West Infantry Territorial Army Kings, 5th, 8th Kings. And the standard bearers, proudly bearing their standards, as always this evening, from the Royal British Legion, the Royal Naval Association, the Royal Air Forces Association, the 1940 Dunkirk Veterans Association, the Burma Star Association, the Parachute Regiment Association, the Royal Observer Corps, the Royal Army Service Corps, and St. John Ambulance, and the Submarine Old Comrades Association, and the British Korean Veterans. And very shortly we shall be seeing, we're all or have our eyes glued to the north at the moment, but while we're waiting for the Phantom aircraft of 56th Squadron from Wattisham, a welcome this evening to Colchester Carnival Queen and their party, and her party, the Carnival Queen, Sarah Mordew, and the Princesses Lucy Traub and Nazif Youssef. We hope they enjoyed the programme, and we hope too that in extending a welcome to 400 Sea Scouts and leaders from the National Sea Scout camp taking place in East Mersey. Now, here come the Phantoms of 56, so wave your programmes. Now, ladies and gentlemen, to start our programme, the massed infantry bands in the arena are going to add a little something to the programme. We are hoping that you're all going to join in, and it really marks a celebration of the 90th birthday on Saturday of this week of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother. And so we have now the massed infantry bands with the item, Good Old Days. Well, the good old days certainly brought forward one or two tunes that will be familiar to the older members of our audience this evening, and I hope they were all singing all the words. The next item in our program, ladies and gentlemen, also does a little for reminiscing. And in this we see the 10th Battalion, the Parachute Regiment, in 1940 and today. And overhead, no doubt many of you will have seen just, well, I've lost it at the moment. Oh, we're approaching now from the west, ladies and gentlemen, a 1940 Dakota aircraft, which, approaching slowly, not a great deal of noise, a marvelous sound from the engines of this American-built aircraft. I think something in the region of 28,000 of this aircraft were built over many years. An aircraft that was a very significant workhorse for the United States and for her allies, we among them, during the course of the war. But now, let's, as we look at that, consider what's going on in the arena, because this is the sort of thing that is likely to happen in these days. They enter from the left, from the west side, members of the mortar platoon of 10th Volunteer Battalion, the Parachute Regiment, based at Leon C in the south of the county, and they form two of the three sections available to support the battalion on all operations. The battle picture at the moment is that forward elements of the battalion have come under fire from the enemy during the advance, and they call for added fire support. Now they're going to come into action very quickly indeed. The section commanders sight their number ones and then call forward the vehicles for the rest of the crew and the ammunition. And the weapon is a flexible system that can be parachuted on a man in his personal equipment container, with every man in the battalion jumping with ammunition. In this way, the equipment is highly maneuverable and can be man-packed wherever the battalion can go. Vehicles advance. We're waiting for the bangs. And a splendid view overhead of the Dakota as he banks to his right and salutes the members of the Parachute Regiment Volunteers Territorial Army of today. It was from aircraft like that, of course, that paras were dropped in a great many actions during the course of the Second World War. The 81mm mortar provides indirect fire support to the battalion and reaches out 5.5 kilometers from the base plate position. Having fired and engaged the enemy effectively, it's vital to come out of action quickly and leave the area before the enemy locating equipment can detect and pass the mortar line location to their artillery units to bring in counter-battery bombardment. These territorial soldiers are part-time members of the Parachute Regiment and have achieved the same entrance standard as for the regular parachute battalions. They're local members of London's own 10th Volunteer Battalion, and as I said earlier, based at Leon C, which is near Southend, of course, and Finchley in North London, as well as other locations around the country. All potential territorial paratroopers join a local subunit of the battalion, and following a period of training with his chosen subunit, he is sent for a period of intensive training. And this provides members with an exciting and challenging hobby, which can pay well and is certainly different from what most people spend their weekends doing. And as they leave the arena, they leave to the musical accompaniment of the Pegasus Band of the Parachute Regiment, And overtalking the band, ladies and gentlemen, as we have the Red Devils parachute display next in our program, I hand the microphone over now to Corporal Jonathan Dyer of the Royal Military Police for the commentary on the free-fall parachute jump.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Parachute Regiment Free-Fall Team, the Red Devils. My name, as you heard, is Corporal Jonathan Dyer. I am in the Royal Military Police. Please don't be distressed. I'm lucky enough to have a 2-year tour with the team itself. My colleague, Corporal Dave Mitchell, is now going into the centre of the drop zone, and he'll be putting out a cross. This will indicate to my colleagues in the plane circling above that it is clear to drop. At the present moment, they are climbing to an altitude of 5,000 feet. You may have seen earlier that they dropped 2 things that look like toilet rolls. These are actually wind drift indicators, and they tell the jump master exactly where he has to exit the plane. Now, judging by the wind conditions tonight, I think they may have to exit from the south. So I'm sorry, the people in the VIP enclosure won't be able to actually see the exit itself. The reason for this is in case of a malfunction. This doesn't happen very often, but when it does happen, it causes a few problems, and we don't want to land in the town centre. So keep an eye on the aircraft, children, and if you see some smoke coming, let me know, and I'll tell you a bit more about the display. Tonight's pilot is from British Airways, and it's a Concorde pilot called Mr. Roger Mills. He's also the chief Concorde pilot. The plane is still going overhead. It doesn't look like a run-in, although wind conditions may be slightly different upstairs there. At 5,000 feet at the moment, the aircraft tells me that we've got 30 knots of wind. So although it's still on the ground here, it's going to cause a few problems for the parachutists. But hopefully we'll get all of them landing here in the center of the arena. The parachutes they use, they're from America. They're called a Fury canopy, not furry, Fury, and they cost about £2,000. They're very maneuverable, but sometimes, if we're not careful, they can get a bit damaged by the smoke grenades that we use. Now you'll see these being used, and as they leave the aircraft, some of them will pull the smoke grenades in free fall, and some of them will pull them under canopy. Keep watching the aircraft now. This is looking good for a run-in. I hope so, and I'll have to start singing. Try and imagine now, ladies and gentlemen, what the jumpers are thinking in the aircraft. They'll be checking each other's equipment. I can tell you now, the old heart starts beating when you can see the arena down there with all the children. You don't want to muck up, so it's got to be spot on. Tonight, all our jumpers are Parachute Regiment soldiers. And 3 of them, and hopefully the 3 of them will be doing something very special for you, are Falklands veterans, and I'll tell you a bit more about them as they come down. Jump Master now will be making final corrections to the pilot. If you've got X-ray vision, not X-ray, if you've got bionic vision, children, you'll be able to see that one of the jumpers is now just hanging outside the door to get a good clear vision of the drop zone. Can you imagine what he's feeling? I must be honest with you, I had enough problems climbing the stairs to get up to this commentary position. I really don't like heights. Anyway, keep an eye on the aircraft. It's going to happen now. This is definitely a run-in. We've got a nice straight running towards the south. You notice they're going into wind. Yes, and I can see that one of them is just about hanging outside the door now. 2 of the lads are hanging on to him, so keep an eye. You'll get a good view of them in free fall. There they go, ladies and gentlemen, in free fall, accelerating at 120 miles per hour. You'll see the main group split up, and as they split up, they will reach speeds of 200 miles per hour. Now, there's 2 separate groups there. The higher group are the Falklands guys, so I want a big cheer for them when they come. Let's see them all open. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 parachutes open safely. Now, the men who are going to do canopy relative work, these are the real diehards of the team because it's a very, very dangerous part of our sport. It's an intentional canopy collision, and you'll see them getting close together. They'll be the higher canopies as you see them. The rest of the jumpers now will be assessing the wind, and you'll notice the flare gives a good indication of which way the wind is going, and they will be landing into wind. Now they're not aiming for the cross. The cross is a method of communication, and with turbulence from thermals, and we actually get thermals off the heat of the crowd, There's a lot of hot air coming off from you people. It can cause some problems. You see now, some of the jumpers are flying flags. You've got the Union flag, the lower flag. 2 Union flags there. The third jumper approaching the higher canopies now. He's really got a hard job to get up there. I'm sure he will manage to bring the canopy up a bit higher. I want a big cheer, ladies and gentlemen, please, as the jumpers land. We really appreciate it. Let's look for a nice landing now. Look at that, ladies. Come on, kids, big cheer. That's Sharky, our team commander. There, that's lovely. You may be shocked to know that that gentleman there has done 4,000 parachute descents. Coming in now, Steve Judge second. Lovely approach there, lovely flare. Let's see, big cheers, come on. Excellent, come on Colchester, this is our first time here. Here's Stubbo, you may have seen him at the FA Cup final. And a lovely Stubbo landing. Now the last of the individual jumpers coming in. A big cheer for Corporal Ian Barraclough, our team cameraman, and very experienced 2,000 descents parachutist. Come on! Excellent! Those of you who were here last night may have recognised Ian. Last night he was doing the commentating. Now comes the canopy relative work. These guys have really worked hard to put this little display together, so please I want a massive cheer when they come to the deck. The lower man carrying the regimental flag of the parachute regiment is Steve Jelf. Steve Jelf with 3 para down in the Falklands. The second man, Taff Davis. He's with the recce platoons in the Falklands. And on the top, Joey Willoughby. Come on, ladies and gentlemen, a big hand. Excellent. And a lovely display there. That's Corporal Joe Willoughby, 2 para there, stealing the show as usual. 2,000 parachute descents he's made, and 1,000 of them were the type that you've just seen, canopy relative work. Now the team will be frantically getting the parachutes off, making sure the smoke grenades don't come into contact with the parachutes, otherwise they'll have a nice bill at the end of the day. You'll now see the team chief instructor, Sergeant Mark Sheridan, line up the team in front of the stand here where I'm standing. He'll be waiting for every team member to make sure they're ready, getting rid of the protective helmets and donning the famous red beret. There's Sharky, as he's known to the team, going out. Tonight the salute will be taken by the Mayor, Mr. Cook, and also with the Brigadier C.D. Farah Hockley, MC. Come on, ladies and gentlemen. Come on, keep clapping. This is the bit they've worked for. They've worked their hearts out for you this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, the Parachute Regiment 314, the Red Devils.
Now, thanks to Corporal Jonathan Dyer of the Royal Military Police for his commentary on the Red Devils 3-4 parachute display this evening. And the next item in our program, ladies and gentlemen, very much on the ground and down to earth, we see the massed cavalry bands, and they present their program of our four-legged friends. And first we see entering the arena the two drum horses, followed by the trumpeters of the household cavalry. And in the display we shall see a number of riders who come from a wide variety of horse clubs and individual riders from the local area for the display our four-legged friends. and the cavalry bands leave the arena. And of course, we can marvel as always at the great dignity of the drum horses of the household cavalry. And now we turn from thoughts of horses to thoughts of horsepower in a motorcycle display, and the commentary is given by the officer in charge of the display, Captain David Luck.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like you to welcome now into the arena, please, the motorcycle display team of the Royal Artillery, the Flying Gunners. They'll split to the top end of the arena and perform a single cross for us. As you can see there, no room for any errors of judgment whatsoever. During this series of single crosses, the motorcycles are travelling at about 40 to 50 miles an hour. That's a closing speed in excess of 180 miles an hour as they go over the centre cone. This time, once they've regrouped at the bottom end, they'll bomb burst from the centre. And this will set them up nicely for a manoeuvre we call the single beezer. During the single beezer, the motorcycles will approach the centre of the arena, they'll bank the machines hard over and accelerate. This time, watch the back wheels and see how close they come to touching. Leading on, it's a natural progression from the single beezer into the double beezer. Next, the Flying Gunners will cross the arena 3 at a time in tight arrowhead formation in a manoeuvre we call singles and doubles. Next, the funnel. They'll start on the wide outside of the arena, they'll channel down to a single narrow lane, pass through and over the centre cone, before fanning out to the wide outside again. Here we go then, the funnel. Next, the fisheye. They'll start in the 4 corners and describe the giant shape of a fisheye, crossing at either end. And to complete the opening ride, the single line beezer. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, the single line beezer completes the opening ride. And Sergeant Stock will now regroup the team in preparation for leaving the arena. Well, so far we've seen the 12 opening riders performing en masse. Now we move on to... Wait a minute. What's this? Excuse me? Yes, up here in the commentary box. You with the funny hat on. That's it. What do you think you're doing? You're coming over to mend the fence, are you? Well, do you think you could get a move on? We're trying to run a serious display here. Now, this isn't any good. I don't know who the organisers have got in to be their handyman, but he's no good. Never mind, we'll call on the services of our own team policeman. Here he is, Sergeant Smith. He'll soon have him sorted out. Whoops. Right, now what are you going to do with him? Try some water, perhaps, to revive him. Just a little bit. Oh, no, call for the doctor then. Here he comes. Here he is, Dr. Trolley. Now, how's he going to get this policeman kick-started? Whoa! And Dr. Trolley falls off his bike. Now who's going to need the medical attention? Well, obviously not Sergeant Smith. He seems to be all right. Dr. Trolley gets wet in the process. and we'll finally try and get rid of these three once and for all. Ladies and gentlemen, please thank the clowns. Now the little sanity has returned to the arena. We're going to see the hallmark of the Flying Gunners, and that's the pyramid. 5 motorcycles and 17 men, an all-up weight of over 1.5 tons of man and machinery, and believe you me, it's no mean feat to perform. It's mostly due to the strength of the 4 men you can see standing on the backs of the motorcycles at the moment. We call them the locks. They hold the whole thing together, and they'll shortly be joined by the 5 men standing on the far side of the arena, some of whom are wearing leather harness. They support the weight of the 3rd and 4th tiers. They scramble into position now, up on top of the bikes. Gunner Beecham slots in the centre pole. He'll climb to the top. And there it is, complete. The pyramid of the Flying Gunners. Having said what a difficult manoeuvre it is to perform, they are in fact the world record holders for the distance covered by that formation, set during 1988. They covered a staggering 3.8 miles like that, and in the meantime raised over £4,500 for a local handicap school in Woolwich. So as they leave the arena on the final lap, ladies and gentlemen, give them another big round of applause for the pyramid of the Flying Gunners. Well, I didn't think we'd seen the last of him. He's back again. You can see he's not very big and he's not very clever, and that's the biggest motorbike we let him ride, boys and girls, for obvious reasons. He has trouble with that. But never mind. Being the well-equipped team we are, we even have our own fire brigade, and they're not going to let this policeman steal all the limelight. They're going to finish him off once and for all, and they're going to do it by towing in that rather strange-looking contraption they have there. Thank you, Fireman Trolley. Don't point it at the crowd. That used to be the water cannon, but with the drought we're having, we've had to rename it. Right, all set then? On the count of 3. 1, 2. Well, on the count of 2 then. Well, it seems to have worked. An instantaneous hit. And Sergeant Smith gets another soaking into the process. Fortunately, they only seem to have hit the motorcycle and not the policeman, so we'll no doubt see him at later displays. Ladies and gentlemen, would you thank the clowns for the last time, please? Staff Sergeant Elliott, Gunner Trolley and Gunner Smith. We go into the finale ride now. The first 6 riders ramp out. They'll split at the top end and do another single cross, but over the ramps this time. We do, however, ride the finale with 12 altogether. So as they cross over at this end, welcoming the other 6 riders for a performance of the Crow's Foot. Tricky that one, because you don't get the timing exactly right. You end up with an impromptu pillion passenger complete with his own motorcycle. Right, 12 this time, another single cross. Speeds in excess of 50 miles an hour this time. Next time we'll double it up. Double the men and double the machinery as they go over in pairs for the double cross. Again, quite tricky because you not only have to watch your opposing pair, but keep an eye on your wingman as well. Well, so far you've seen Flying Gunners come from just 2 corners of the arena over the ramps. Once they've bomb-bursted from the centre this time. In a move called the Scissors, you'll see Flying Gunners come from all 4 corners, and at any one time, 2 of them will be in mid-air, head-to-head over that centre cone. If you're of a slightly nervous disposition, ladies and gentlemen, I suggest you close your eyes for this one, because it's definitely not for the faint-hearted. Right, all seems set. Ramps in position, teams in corners. Here we go then, the Scissors. How about that? Well, if you did have your eyes closed and indeed blinked and missed it, don't worry, nothing happened, and just to prove it, we'll do another one for you. This time in a manoeuvre aptly named Russian roulette, we cut down the space and timing between the riders, and this time we'll see 3 and 4 in the air around that centre cone. And to complete the finale ride, the trapeze, head-to-head over the centre of the arena. There they go. Well, as I said, the trapeze concludes the finale ride. However, we haven't quite finished this evening because as a culmination to our display, we're going to perform a car jump for you. And you can see the first of the team cars, the Ford Escort, coming into the arena. That's being followed by the Flying Gunners Rover, which in turn is towing the ramp, from which tonight's car jump rider, who is Lance Bombardier King, will perform his feat. He's going to be riding a slightly different motorcycle. This will be a Kawasaki KX250. It's a race-bred motocross machine which has the required turn of speed and acceleration to jump not only over the 2 cars, but over the remaining 10 riders in the team as well. And Sergeant Stock's just bringing them around into position now. There they are, all 10 slotted in, all seem set. Here he comes, Lance Bombardier King. Up he goes. And over. No problems at all. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that does conclude our display this evening. We do hope you've enjoyed it. So Sergeant Stock leads the team round for the salute. All that remains is for you to put your hands together and give a very big, warm round of applause to the motorcycle display team of the Royal Regiment of Artillery, the Flying Gunners.
And there in the arena, ladies and gentlemen, now, following the motorcycle display, we see the men of the arena party, not only clearing up after the Flying Gunners, but saluting the conductor's dais onto the arena party this year of 42 Ordnance Company, who worked very hard in support of all the items you see in our program this evening. So what about a cheer for them? Our thoughts of anniversaries are very much in our minds this year, and shortly we shall be seeing a pageant which celebrates the 150th anniversary of the Essex Police. And first into the arena we see the mass bands which are formed from the Essex Police, the Kent Police, the Royal Ulster Constabulary, and from Holland the Hilversum Police Band and the Municipal Police Band. They're under the direction of Bob Coxon, a welfare officer at Essex Police Headquarters in Chelmsford, and formerly of the Sherwood Foresters. And there, ladies and gentlemen, we see animated now the left and right, the east and west of the arena. A representation of a Victorian scene up to the front of the and then on to the period of the First World War. We see on the left, we see a superintendent in his Harry Pratt, and the street scene as we might have seen in the early years of the police force, which was began in 1840, from the period of the West Side, 1840 to 1890. We see the street there. Many of them performing the Italian War. And so we turn to the year 1916, and some of the audience may remember that in that year, in September, a Zeppelin crashed in Great Wicklow. Cycling towards them now. Constable 354 Charles Smith of Peldon, together with the villagers of Peldon, confronted the crew of Zeppelin L-33, and he placed them under arrest. And he got a grand salute from the officer in charge of the Zeppelin crew. It looks as if they're not going to put up much of a struggle. Police Constable Smith was promoted on the site by the Chief Constable. A salute from P.C. Smith, who is instantly translated into Sergeant Smith. Away goes the chief constable, and the newly appointed sergeant leads the column of his prisoners. So that took us up to September 1916 in the pageant which celebrates 150 years of the county police force in Essex. Over the years, a certain amount of modernization went on. Motorcycles were used for the first time. That motorcycle was used by the sergeant. It was his own machine. And he got paid as much as 4 pence a week for the privilege. And onto the scene came women members of the police force. Over the years, of course, they played a larger and larger part in the activities of the police. And a wide variety of motor cars, from the early motor cars of the police force. One of them comes from Manchester. A third pilot, familiar to many people, I'm sure, in the audience this evening, as one of the early traffic cars after the war. A Jaguar car. A little noddy bike, the valet set. Now we've got some trouble in the arena. 2 policemen very much outnumbered by some local thugs, and they're going to get a surprise as they're dealt with by modern WPCs, all trained in the art of self-defense, quickly arrest the offenders and take them into the police van, and they'll be swiftly dealt with, not summarily, but they'll be restrained anyway for at least as long as it takes to get them out of the arena. We see Alert 3, the police launch, and the duck in the arena. A vehicle used at the time of the thugs round from Canby right the way round the coast to the borders of Suffolk during 1952. Two policemen mounted, still using the horse in these days for crowd patrol. These two come from Southend. Ladies and gentlemen, the Essex Police in the 1990s. Here are the vehicles of the modern police force, high-powered machines all. And the saluting officer this evening, Superintendent John Wright. Well, a marvellous array of performers, as well as police personnel, the ladies and gentlemen of the theatre groups, giving a colourful display of the march of progress of the county constabulary over the last 150 years. And the performers even take their street furniture with them. And as the arena will have an opportunity to see once again on the move such a wide variety of vehicles, the Velocette. The Bentley now passing the centre position, the Austin 7, the Grey Lagonda, the Essex County Constabulary van, and such a wide variety of vehicles that many old vehicles that many in our audience will not have seen before. They're passing from right to left, from east to west, the inshore rescue boat used by frontmen of the County Constabulary. Now, we're delighted to have had the opportunity in 1990 to celebrate with the County Constabulary their 150th anniversary this year. There again, moving out of the arena now, the bands of the Essex Police, the Kent Police, the Royal Ulster Constabulary, and from Holland, the Hilversum Police Band and the Dutch Municipal Police Band. Now we're going to stay with the police, ladies and gentlemen, for the next item in our programme. And in this we see the four-footed guardians of law and order in the county, as we see, ladies and gentlemen, the dog section of the Essex Police. A familiar scene on our public roads, a security company delivery van on its way to a local bank. And from the west, and from the east, get my compass points right, a vehicle not quite so innocent as it might at first appear. They deal roughly with the driver and his companion, but they're in for a surprise. The Essex Police, perhaps anticipating, perhaps they had a tip-off, they deal very quickly, as you can see, with the criminals who ambushed the security van. A quick dash to the four corners to make sure that they don't get away. And there in that swift operation we saw Mac, handled by Sergeant Simkis, Guy, handled by PC Chesley, Carberry, handled by Sergeant Kirby, and Kess, handled by PC Foster. Now I'm beginning to get reports of from the local police about a car chase involving a vehicle still... Oh, there's another problem. Well, something of a riot going on. I don't think it's in the prison in Chelmsford, but this is the sort of way that escapes can be made if you've got a long enough ladder and the wall is low enough and there's not enough barbed wire on the top. Well, they're in a jubilant mood. Perhaps some of the steam would be taken out of their exuberance very shortly, because you can imagine what's likely to develop. There, two more chaps in for a surprise. They'll get them before they get to the edge of the arena. Although one of them does seem to be sensibly staying put, but he cuts and runs. The police dog handler and his dog on the left, and he won't get to the boundary. There we see that situation quickly dealt with by two members of the team. There we saw PC Ball and Strachan and PC Hopkins and Roger.
Ice cream! I'll have an ice cream, mate!
Well, I'm not really quite sure what's going. Well, shouldn't be selling ice cream in the arena, but one customer coming, but no, it's a vulgar trick.
Come here, you! Hey!
Well, he ought to do, he really ought to have a machine, I think.
Come here!
a motorised vehicle to take him away, he'd get away rather more swiftly, but another surprise, I think, in store, because this chap isn't going to pedal his tricycle after him, he's going to let go the goods inside. The dog seizing his chance, and the attacker. Well, obviously they've been waiting for that chap because they were obviously prepared and lying in wait for the sort of attack which he may have been responsible for many times in the past. And there we saw police dog Bruno and handler PC Ball. But now a bandit car, hotly pursued by an Essex police car. The bandits are armed. Particularly sort of job driving around, chasing bandits in a confined space like this. I think this sort of thing doesn't often happen in the country, but it's something that the police have to be prepared for. And now, in a pincer movement, the stolen vehicle is trapped between the two police vehicles, and one of the criminals makes good his escape. On foot, hotly pursued by the dog. And the dog will hold on until the handler arrives, and then instantly releases the criminal when the handler gives the order. Now another criminal, armed again. Now, dogs have to be trained to this sort of thing, and they don't know that the guns only contain blanks. Straight into the attack without any qualms whatsoever, hanging on to the criminal before the handler arrives, and then instantly releasing. PC Jones and Kaz and PC Beecham with Kaiser. Well, there we've seen, in a very brief display, the sort of thing that the County Constabulary and its dog team is capable of as a means of preserving law and order in the county. The dogs swiftly into the attack, into all kinds of situations, and there we see a large number of dogs and their handlers entering down the centre line, and there the Essex Police Band forming the accompaniment with the band of the Kent Police, I think, at the moment. Now, I think our congratulations too are due to the men who played the parts of the criminals in their performance this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, the Essex Police Dog Section. And as the darkness gathers, of course, we have the greatest benefit now from the searchlights of our searchlight tattoo, manned by the men of 873 Movement Light Squadron. And another anniversary this year, the Golden Jubilee of the Airborne Forces, and we see next in our programme a salute to the airborne forces as we introduce the Battle of Arms. The mass tattoo bands, trumpeters and corps of drums. Many people in the county will remember, south of the county particularly, the vast numbers of aircraft that flew east towards Holland in 1904. Dakota aircraft like the one we saw this evening, those and Sterling aircraft towing gliders that were to take the men of the airborne division east to battle. On September the 1st, 1939, German forces invaded Poland. days later, on September the 3rd, war was officially declared between Britain and Germany. On September the 11th, the first British troops left for the continent amid a welter of patriotic fervour, tearful farewells, insidious fears, and of course, popular songs. first 7 months, the war in Western Europe was spasmodic. Then, suddenly on May the 10th, Holland, Belgium and Luxembourg were invaded with awesome speed and power by the mighty German war machine. The years that followed saw Britain rocked on her heels with the evacuation of Dunkirk, the Battle of Britain, and the Blitz. But by 1944, the time was ripe for a return to Western Europe, and on June the 6th of that year, the D-Day invasions of Normandy took place. Gradually, the attacking forces began to gain a foothold. However, in September 1944, the advance had encountered fierce German resistance in the central Holland area, and something dramatic was needed in order to break the stalemate. Field Marshal Montgomery, commander of the British 21st Army Group, came up with a plan to use the newly formed airborne forces to capture several bridges across the Dutch rivers and canals in order to assist a rapid Allied thrust into Germany, a plan which included the capture of a bridge over the Rhine itself at Arnhem. "I think we might be going a bridge too far," said Lieutenant General Brown. Prophetic words. On September the 17th, the weather was perfect. At 09:45, the first aircraft in a total of over 1,500 British and American Dakotas, gliders and fighter support aircraft took off for the plains of Holland. The responsibility for the capture of the Rhine Bridge at Arnhem was assigned to the 1st Airborne Division. The spearhead of the attack was to be the 2nd Battalion of the Parachute Regiment, affectionately known as 2 Para. Operation Market Garden, as the assault was codenamed, was underway. Although intelligence reports had indicated that the German defences around Arnhem were weak, the area was in fact occupied by the German 9th SS Division, which included a heavy concentration of panzer tanks the Germans were waiting for. Two Para was rapidly outnumbered, surrounded and cut off from any hope of reinforcement. Their orders were to capture and hold the bridge for 48 hours, and although two Para held it for 3 days and 4 nights, completely unsupported, they were, inevitably, finally overrun. The Battle of Arnhem was undoubtedly an heroic defeat. Montgomery later wrote, "In years to come, it will be a great thing for a man to be able to say, 'I fought at Arnhem.'" Although the assault failed to secure the Rhine Bridge at Arnhem, Operation Market Garden did provide the Allies with an excellent springboard from which to launch the final attack on Germany. On May the 2nd, 1945, the German war machine was finally defeated with the fall of Berlin. On May the 8th, Germany officially surrendered. Europe was at peace, and the Allied forces justifiably celebrated a glorious victory. And I'm sure many people around the audience this evening will be reminiscing about their days of 1940. And now, ladies and gentlemen, reports are being received on the civil police radio that a helicopter is in trouble approaching the garrison area from the southwest. Now, if you look over the control box, perhaps you'll give us a shout if you see it. We can't see it from our position at the moment, but searchlights are sweeping the area to see if they can see its approach. Are you looking out to the southwest?
Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. Whiskey Sierra 5-3. Whirlwind helicopter. We have hydraulic problems, making a forced landing 1 mile south of Colchester town centre. An ominous silence. Our emergency services have to be in constant readiness to deal with a variety of incidents which can occur anytime, anywhere, and inevitably without warning. Our use of fast means of transport creates its own man-made disasters, whether by road, rail, sea, or air.
Yeah, helicopter, whereabouts, sir?
That's in the Abbeyfield, off the Circular Road North, Colchester.
Abbeyfield?
Circular Road North, Colchester.
Colchester. Station Alpha 10, audio rescue tender, rescue pump, Union Log of phone tanker to a helicopter crashed, Abbeyfield, Circular Road North, Colchester.
Messages are swiftly passed between the services in a well-functioning system. Each of the services dispatched suitable personnel and equipment to the scene of the crash.
Colchester 01 to control.
SM control to Colchester 01, go ahead, over.
Colchester 01, we confirm the helicopter has crashed, 4 casualties, 1 in a critical condition, 1 man trapped. A further ambulance is required, fire and police are in attendance. Colchester 1, over.
Well, thank you, Colchester 01. We'll get you further assistance if you keep updated on the situation at the scene. Over.
Roger.
Thank you, SM control out.
As you saw, paramedics approached the incident assessing the hazards concerned, and at the scene they carry out preliminary assessment of the casualties, and after that a more detailed examination is undertaken and the treatment will begin. And this may involve the setting up of drips to combat shock from fluid loss. They'll be monitoring for cardiac cases, airway management. They'll be dressing wounds, immobilizing fractures, and resuscitating and sustaining arrested patients. On arrival, the crew of the second ambulance have reported to the paramedic of the first crew, and the paramedic station officer also arrives and reports for a situation report from the first crew. He coordinates the rescue between the ambulance service and the fire service and police. A great deal of well-practiced activity. The vehicles of the fire service each have a special unit. The large rescue tender attends major road traffic accidents, chemical incidents, and all major disasters. They carry rescue cutting equipment, decontamination suits, thermal image carriers, and all the necessary hand tools needed for firefighting.
Stop from Radio J, Fields, Colchester, Emergency Special Service, Fire, Helicopter, one phone branching rules, all persons accounted for.
Up! 2, 3, down! Dismiss!
And there on the east side of the vehicles you see the flashing blue light of the voluntary organisation of doctors trained and equipped to deal with accident cases. That is, of course, NEEDS, the North East Essex Doctors Emergency Service. They've been in existence now for about 16 years, and they attend around 250 incidents each year. They receive no public funding, and the doctors provide their own time and their cars free. So there we have a certain amount of clearing up to do because the wreckage has to be taken away before we continue with our program, naturally enough. Whether they're going to use that big vehicle of the fire brigade, I'm not really quite sure, but I don't think they are. Those of you who are closer, I can't see into the gloom, but something appears, yes? It looks like a bit of an unequal struggle, if you can see it at ground level. A small tractor to carry away the wrecked helicopter after the emergency services have dealt with a situation which could have been very tricky indeed. One that's going off, ladies and gentlemen, and interesting enough about the vehicles which you saw in the arena, the rescue pump, one of the 3 fire service vehicles. In fact, that kind of vehicle deals with 90% of all fire service incidents, from house fires to the smaller road traffic accidents. And that sort of vehicle carries front-mounted winches, lighting equipment, rescue cutting equipment, and hydraulic hoists. It also carries breathing sets and something called a triple F foam equipment, which you saw used to good effect on the crashed helicopter when the fire brigade arrived on the scene. Next in our program, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to see some visitors from overseas. We've already seen a number of performers who've come long distances to take part in our program. But next we're going to see the team from Norway, the Norwegian King Olav V's Guard. And the performers at the tattoo this year consist of the band, the corps of drums and trumpeters, and the rifle platoon. And they've served as guardsmen only since April the 4th this year. They're all conscripts, and their ages are 19 to 20 years. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome the Royal Norwegian King's Guard. And as you may have seen, ladies and gentlemen, the young men of the Royal Norwegian King's Guard doffed their hats as they left the arena. And now to follow them, we have an action-packed scene as we see A Squadron of 9th 12th Lancers supported by 105mm light guns of 202 Suffolk and Norfolk Yeomanry, Field Battery, Royal Artillery, and troops of the 10th Battalion, the Parachute Regiment. Now to the east, you see Colonel Zog and his militiamen from Jebrovia, a small island in the Baltic Sea. The self-imposed dictator, Colonel Zog, and his militia has attempted to seize the country and hold the United Kingdom to ransom over oil supplies. Jebrovia requested support from Britain, so a force was sent to restore order. At present, Colonel Zog and his highly trained and devoted personal guard are controlling all routes into the capital, depriving the capital of any form of resupply, thus crushing any resistance to the military coup. However, he has not taken account of Black Dog Division who are approaching his position. Over to the east now, over to the west now, you see the medium reconnaissance patrol entering and moving forward, looking for enemy positions, and they're led by 2nd Lieutenant Bartley. Moving forward by degrees, looking for the enemy, who seems to be unaware of their approach. Each vehicle, as it moves forward, is covered from the vehicles behind, and they now engage the enemy. The enemy woken up. Time 1-2, Corporal Pegg has been hit and appears to be dead. The enemies are tough enough with the first thought, and so 2nd Lieutenant Bartley withdraws to await reinforcements. Colonel Zog is keen to get another medal to add to his already impressive array, and sends out a party to investigate. But reinforcements to the rescue, a section from 2 troops, led by 2nd Lieutenant Parry, arrives on the scene. They advance rapidly, and the enemy withdraw to their position, firing as they go. While 2 Troop gives fire support, 3 Troop enter with elements of 10 para volunteers to move up into the assault position. And here come the gunners under the throw to battery Royal Artillery volunteers, bringing into position to support the impending assault. Orders given to the gunners. The Barrows now taking up their position for the assault by the 3 Troop Scorpions. The 105mm light gun giving artillery support. And he waves 10 para, move up to the enemy position. And now 10 para move in for their final assault. The enemy fight back valiantly, but they're no match for the best reconnaissance regiment in NATO. The enemy's overrun, but there are some para casualties, and they'll be swiftly gathered up to be taken to speedy medical attention. The enemy have been completely routed, and the situation there in Jabrovia now resolved. So we've seen a very quick skirmish indeed, showing the kind of activity of which the troops in the arena have been trained, and we've seen them effectively in action this evening. And the salute this evening is offered by Major Nigel Wathen, who is the squadron leader of A Squadron. So there we see all the troops involved in the action, with the vehicles now going to take up the positions which they'll, the majority of them taking up positions from which they'll stay and take part in the finale of our program this evening. The highly mobile 105mm light guns, which can not only be towed by the sort of vehicles you see in the arena, but are air transportable. And very shortly we're going to see the finale and grand muster of our program this evening, with the full complement of tattoo bands, trumpeters and corps of drums. We shall see too the standard bearers. We saw them at the beginning of our program, proudly bearing their standards again this evening. We shall see too the vehicles and personnel of the police pageant. Of course, there, as the background to the great gathering of everyone in the arena, we see 10 Para with their vehicles and 9th, 12th Lancers with theirs, and 202 Suffolk and Norfolk Yeomanry, Field Battery, Royal Artillery with their guns. And we shall see too in the finale the vehicles and personnel of the Civil Emergency Coordinated Display, the ambulance service, the fire brigade, and the police, and the North East Essex Doctors Emergency Service needs. And all the old vehicles that we saw in the police pageant will come into the arena. We see first among the bands visible in the centre doorway, and vehicles around the arena perimeter have taken up their positions and their motors are running. And of course, by tradition, our finale and grand muster concludes with fireworks on this delightful August evening. And now mounting the conductor's rostrum, Major Roger Tomlinson of the Blues and Royals, the Tattoo Director of Music. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the national anthem. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the bands play their set piece, Sheba, an arrangement of Handel's Entry of the Queen of Sheba. And so, ladies and gentlemen, as the last elements of the mass bands leave the arena after that colossal undertaking of getting so many people into and out of the arena, we come to the end of our show, of course, and may I hope that you've enjoyed our program this evening. And on behalf of all the performers, I wish you a very safe journey home. But as you're leaving, a reminder to those members of our audience who arrived with alcohol and had to surrender it on entering the gates. Those members of our